All right, I used to think I had to act a certain way to follow God, but now I know God doesn't want us to be typical. What does that mean?
Flavor. Man,
There's not a
he
certain-
likes the
There's no
flavor.
formula.
Certain.
No certain formula.
There's not a certain persona that Christians are supposed to have, or that, you're not supposed to be like this type of good person, and it's he wants us to be with him. He wants us to learn from him.
Let me tell you a story about myself.
Yeah.
And about Christian reaction, and then I'll say, like, this is what a lot of people think Christians are like. Okay, so obviously recently I've gotten my hair cut, and it's crazy, and it's blonde, and it's different. So, and I know there are people who hate it and people who love it, and I just don't care because I think it's hysterical that there's so much controversy about my haircut. But what I do find disturbing are the ones that are accusing me of having bad character because my hair is cut like someone else who they have judged to have bad character. I just think that's crazy, but it's not surprising is the problem. Like, okay, so now Korey's hair looks like Miley Cyrus, so therefore all of their judgments about Miley Cyrus are now enforced on me. I'm like, seriously?
Yeah.
Like, that's so crazy to me, and yet it's so the way that people who are not Christians think of Christians.
Yeah.
Like, they're just sitting on their thrones, judging us all
Yeah.
for things that, why is that even important? Like, how is that to deal with my character? That now you think all these things about me? Like, I've literally been in Christian ministry for 17 years full time. Like, my life has been about serving people and writing music for people to help people. And now suddenly, because my hair is cut, I'm like a loose woman who's immoral. And like, I'm like, seriously, this is the craziest thing. But like, tell me your thoughts on that, because so many people think that's the way Christians are. And I don't think that's the way Jesus is. And I think it's crazy that that's our reputation. Like, that's my family, and that's my family reputation, is judgmental, hypocritical, shallow, crazy.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I think it's interesting how we build things up in our mind to be a certain way. And no matter who you are, you do this, whether or not you believe in Jesus or not. You have an idea of how things should be, but you just, like, even in this chapter, Bob kind of touches on when Jesus chose his disciples. Yeah. And like when Jesus chose his disciples, they weren't painted in stained glass windows. you know, like we see them now as these saints who were these amazing men. It's like they were dirty. They were probably not overly attractive. They were, fishermen. They might have even had, foul mouths. They might have even, all these things. And it's like, but Jesus handpicked those men to carry truth and to be his disciples. And it's like we can so often see, like now that, we see these men in the stained glass windows and we hear these stories of all these people and we have this image of look like this, act like this, talk like this. Yes. We think that is the only way to be a Christian. That is the only way to be holy, to be this. And so then anything else that doesn't fit the mold must be wrong and it must mean that you're this, this, and this. But it's like, no, like that, just like that is the flavor of God, just choosing people. Like he purposely chooses people who are going to offend others even, and by the way they look and by the way they talk. And I was talking to somebody else in the park yesterday. Her name is Candy, and she's probably got like 15 piercings total when you look at her face, and they're all in her nose and cheeks and tongue and stuff. But she was packing up box after box of clothes that we were giving for free to bring to her neighborhood to give to other people. And it's like, yes, like she gets it, and she didn't sit there and talk to me about, like what's right and what's wrong, and she didn't even say a single thing about God. I don't even know if she was a Christian. But the thing is like she gets love, and she looks like somebody who you would maybe not think, oh yeah, she loves people. But here she is smoking her cigarette with her 2 kids with boxes and boxes of clothes that she's gonna go and just spread love to people that she's around. And I'm like, you get it, Candy. Like you are cool. And I just am like, you are the type of people that we should be looking up to. It's like, it's not a look. It's not, what is on the outside, which is so cliche to say, but it is so ingrained in us in some ways that we look on the outside when it's like, that doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
God doesn't even see that, you know?
Yes, totally.
Yeah, page 12. Page 12 where he says, when Doug, Bob's friend, after they had their BB gun little incident, and they're like all excited because it was so adventurous, but Doug starts telling him, Bob, about Jesus, and he's like, Jesus sounded like an ordinary guy who was utterly amazing. He helped people. And then Bob says he spent time with the kinds of people most of us spend our lives avoiding.
Love it.
And I wrote, ouch, next to that, because it's so true. And then, I mean, exactly what you're saying, like we could look at somebody on the outside and think, I do not want to associate. And, we tag all of these preconceptions on them. And, man, I want to see like Jesus saw.
Yeah.
I want to have his eyes. And when you look at somebody, you don't see any part of their outward appearance really. All you see is what he has written on their lives. All you see is his love. And I know God can give us eyes like that.
Totally.
And you can see just from the way that Bob wrote this book that he has some of that vision too. Just it's not about the outward stuff at all. Like, I just want to see into people, and value them because Jesus values them and because of what he said over their lives,
On page 13, it says, though Doug wasn't a good shot, he wasn't a wimp, and he seemed to know a person, a real living God who liked him and even loved him enough. Even though Doug wasn't as screwed up as I was, because of Doug, I believed in this God, and I wanted to know him too. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't just like this, like this mold of this is who God is. You know what I mean? Like, it was a real living God, and he saw more than just this like mold of what people make Jesus to be. He saw love. He saw Jesus for who he was, and he's like, I want this, and so I thought that was great.
So many bits about this chapter I think are so great. How, he's seeing something real in someone's life that he wants, even though he's kind of like, I didn't even know what it was going to mean to become a Christian. I just knew he had something that I wanted. He's like, I didn't really particularly understand everything. There was something about communion and something about Sunday school. Whatever the question was, Jesus was supposed to be the answer.
That's so good.
Which I think is just hysterical. And he's like, I think it was more about what I saw in Doug than what he had to say to me. In fact, until we were in his room at post-op, he hadn't talked about Jesus much at all. Still, I knew Doug had something I wanted. I never wanted religion. I didn't understand it and didn't particularly want to either. To be honest, I thought being religious was for wimpy guys who didn't get into mischief, which I think is hysterical. And it talks about Doug, like what you were saying, Stevie. He wasn't a wimp, and he seemed to know a person, a real living God who liked him and even loved him. That's amazing. Because of Doug, I believed in this God, and I wanted to know him too. I believed that Jesus wasn't just so much blue smoke to make religion seem like the real thing. He was the real thing, and he had a lot of firepower. I think that's amazing.
It's so amazing.
It's continuing from the first chapter, is, that your relationship with God is so real. It's got to start there for you. It's got to be about, even in your deepest parts, that you're not trying to achieve something. You're not trying to all right, if I'm good enough, God will love me more. Or if I prophesy on a Sunday, then I'm moving up the chain. Like, you know what? That's all the wrong ideas. That's, works-based religion. And what God wants is you. And he wants a relationship with you. He knows where you're gifted. He's given you your gifts and your talents. They don't impress him. You know what I mean? So whether you can speak in front of 1 million people, or whether you can clean toilets awesome, he's given you gifts, and they're from him anyway. It doesn't rate to him. It doesn't make you more important to him. He just wants to use your life, and he wants to know you. And he wants you to know him, because he knows in that context you'll be the most fulfilled that you ever will be in your life. Just knowing him and experiencing him, because he's awesome. But then he wants you to love other people like he loves you.
Yeah.
and then your life won't be typical.
Yeah.
You know, which is moving on to kind of, Shelley, what you were talking about, this chapter on page 15. The ones Jesus first picked to follow him started out typical, to be sure. So, Son of God walking the earth, all right, I need 12 guys to start this whole deal for me once I go. And he doesn't pick anybody amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
Purposely. He just picks, you know, they were unschooled and ordinary, fishermen, business people, blind people, loose women, rip-offs, and vagrants. They were people who were lousy shots like me and Doug, folks who had been injured in life and patched together with gum and leaves and grace, which I love. Love that sentence. But like my BB gun, what Christ followers lack in velocity, they make up for in intensity. They are people who have experienced an intensely intimate friendship with Jesus and move forward with an intensity to parallel that experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That could just end there, because that's awesome.
Totally.
You know?
It is. That's life,
Yeah.
you know? It's like if you don't have that encounter with Jesus, then there's no way to make up an intensity or to pretend to have it. I mean, you either have it or you don't, and it only comes from an encounter with Jesus, from a relationship and intimacy with Jesus. And the cool thing is, it's nothing that you have to just like search for with all this, like, you know, oh, I need it, because Jesus wants you to have it. You
Right.
know, it's like he's the one who actually put the desire in you to start with. So anytime when you're feeling like, I want a relationship with Jesus, it's not coming from a place of, oh, I don't have it, I really want it. It's coming from a place of Jesus putting it in you, saying, I'm gonna make you want me.
Yeah.
And he does it before you even know it. And actually, you're just responding to him. So it's like we just live lives of responding to Jesus. And when we feel that desire in us, we respond to it. And what comes is this friendship and this relationship with Jesus. And then all of a sudden, your life has changed. And you want to do these things, and you want to love these people that you never thought you'd even care about. And you pass by on the street every day, hoping to not even look at, because then you feel guilty for not talking to them. But it's like that love of Jesus and that relationship and friendship changes you, because you start to realize, hey, I'm actually that person that Jesus sought after, and now I can, you know, show them the love of Jesus because it's in me, because I have this relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.